to give his speech for a few minutes. So until that, I would like to invite Neelesh ji. Neelesh ji, welcome to the dais. Please start your speech, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Raghavan. My voice can be heard clearly?
Yes, sir, yes, perfectly.
Okay, namaste everyone. Our subject today is the operating system. It's a modern term. It's a term which all of us know about because of our involvement with technology in our day-to-day lives. So we will try to use that concept to talk about what Sri Aurobindo and the mother have brought for us. Now, an operating system, the humanity, whether we are conscious or not, humanity is using a certain operating system to conduct itself in terrestrial existence. So let's try to understand what we mean by an operating system. Just as a computer operating system enables and powers various applications to operate properly and fulfill their functions, a human operating system can be seen as that which supports human existence. And it has to be a complete yet open civilizational system that enables humanity to rise and fulfill its evolutionary potential. There are some assumptions we are making here, as we just heard in the previous talk, that is not just about survival, but humanity is called to also rise and fulfill a certain destiny or a certain evolutionary potential, both in individual and collective terms. And since we are talking about conscious life, the capacity of this operating system has to be both in terms of knowledge and in terms of power, both in terms of chit and in terms of shakti. The system has to be complete in the sense that it has to cater to all the key aspects of the human situation, leaving nothing unanswered or unaddressed. Yeah. And the system has to be open in the sense that it has to be capable of permanent adaptation in sync with the time spirit or the Yuga Dharma. So a complete and open civilizational system that not only allows humanity to survive, but to thrive and rise to fulfill its evolutionary destiny. That is our quick and short definition of a human operating system. Now, let us look at the constituents, or what could be the constituents of a human operating system. In common parlance, we need both a science and a technology of and for humanity that can propel us to superhumanity. Hence, the notion of a superhuman operating system as the title of this session. Now, before we inquire as to why we need an upgrade, why we need to move from a human to something called a superhuman operating system, let us look at the constituents of what an operating system could be in a commonsensical sense. And in this modern age, let us use the classification reference framework of modern philosophy to identify the aspects of human existence and endeavor that could be then said to constitute the software of the operating system. The aspects of human existence and endeavor that can be said to constitute the software of the human operating system. Now, broadly speaking, we need 6 things to constitute the existential science. We can examine and see that we need 6 things to constitute the existential science. Number 1, an understanding of reality. which answers the question, what is? That is usually in modern philosophy called metaphysics or ontology. An understanding of reality, what is. Next, a definition of the self. Who am I? Once we understand what is, in the middle of what is, who am I and how am I related to what is? So that constitutes the subject called self-identity. Next, a theory of knowledge. What is, who am I, but how do I know? Right? That in modern philosophical framework is called epistemology. Metaphysics, self-identity, epistemology. Then, what do we need after that? We need an orientation for right action. What am I here for? What should I do? What is the right thing to do? In modern philosophy, that goes by the subject of ethics. Metaphysics, self-identity, epistemology, ethics. Do we need anything else? Yes, we do. We need a capacity for organization. Well, I am what I am, but how do I work with others? The self is not just the self, the small self, there are other selves. All within and by and supported by the capital self. But how do I work with others? How do I work with other selves? So that is the capacity of organization, which loosely in modern philosophics is called politics. Not very accurately, but it is called politics. Although that term is much degraded. So we have covered metaphysics, self-identity, epistemology, ethics, and politics. Is there anything else? Well, there is. The pursuit of art, beauty, and love. How do I refine? How do I beautify? How do I subtilize? How do I make things more charming and beautiful? This is the province of Lakshmi, Mahalakshmi. This is called in modern philosophy, the topic is called aesthetics. This is the province of IGNCA, I would presume, right? So let us now examine what our current understanding of these 6 things are. What is our current understanding? Our current understanding of these 6 streams of software determine our current human operating system, isn't it? So what is our current understanding of this to the majority of humanity today, both in the East and the West? And the East having also forgotten a large part of its own spiritual heritage by being bedazzled by the West. So let us examine these 6 things in short. These are vast subjects unto itself, but in short, for the purposes of this talk. What is our current understanding of what is? Well, our physical universe constitutes our reality. There may be some other domains or universes, but we don't know much about that, nor are we interested. All we are concerned about is the physical universe of that what we can directly see, that we can directly measure. That's where our focus is. That's the focus of all our effort, including science. Who are we? What is our answer to the question? Who are we? What is our self-identity answer? Well, we are a species called Homo sapiens, bound by a skin-encapsulated ego, operating as the center of our identity and the fulcrum of our actions. Isn't it? How do we know? What is our answer to the epistemology question? We know primarily through our normal senses and the part of the mind connected to the normal senses, which we call manas, which data is processed by our conceptual faculty, aided by our emotions to determine knowledge. Isn't it? That is all we study and teach our kids in schools and colleges. What for? What is the right thing to do? Well, the answer seems to be that we are here for optimizing our well-being at the level of body, life, energy, and mind, while also acting, caring for others to the extent we can as usually a secondary objective. That is our answer to the question of ethics, isn't it? How do we interact with others? How do we organize with others? We use some educational systems for our learning, some organizational systems for our professions, some social systems for community life, and some political economic systems for national and international governance and cooperation. Right? How do we refine ourselves? How do we approach beauty? Well, we pursue art for art's sake, or for some utilitarian purpose, or for some kind of gratification of the self as defined above. So this, what we just went through, is a short, simple operating system. This is the operating software that powers the 6 key aspects of human existence and endeavor: metaphysics, self-identity, epistemology, ethics, politics, and aesthetics. Again, this is the one classification in modern philosophy. We are not choosing the Astika Nastika system here. But because we are in a modern context and we are talking about India leading the example for the rest of the world, let's try to present it in modern language. Now, having understood what could constitute the basis, or what does constitute the basis of the human operating system as operative today, comes the question, why a superhuman operating system? Do we really need anything else? Isn't it? Is it just because it sounds like a good term, or is there a real need for it? Aren't we good as we are today? I don't know about you, but to me and to many others, it is becoming apparent to an increasing number of people that we haven't really figured out how to live at peace at a collective level, or in a state of non-contradictory joy at an individual level. Isn't it? Our existential situation appears to be a series of trade-offs or compromises, and suffers always from an imperfect and precarious optimization, despite some progress in some exoteric areas like technology and outer comforts and medical science and genetics and artificial intelligence. But as we just heard in the previous talk, these don't change the essential internal condition of how we are as human beings and we conduct ourselves on the human operating system. The changes in the human operating system appear to be more in the extrinsic, outer, relatively superficial category of existence. Recent social and political events, not just in the last 2-3 years with the pandemic, but over the 20-30 years, are indicating that we can no longer properly know what is true and what is false. And we are not even sure whom to trust. All our personal identity systems seems to be fragile or shaky. All our social and institutional systems seem to be inadequately functional at best and thoroughly corrupt at worst. Most metrics of genuine, true human well-being, not necessarily all, but most, are either unstable or in free fall. The number of issues or challenges seem to be rising at a faster pace than the human capacity or the capacity of our currently defined human operating system to cope, not just cognitively, but energetically. Isn't it? Many people have a sinking feeling that without a reboot of the human operating system, without an upgrade, a radical re-engineering or a transformation of the human operating system, we may not be able to make it. Hence the allusion to crashing circumstances we just heard. I don't know about what all of you think, but my own view is that the challenges we face as a civilization cannot be addressed unless we create a superhuman operating system. For want of a better description, human to superhuman is just a label. But the key point is that this entails a qualitative shift, not a quantitative one merely. The human mental faculty, which is our currently highest mode of operation and which distinguishes us from other forms of sentient life, has reached the law of diminishing returns and is now going around in circles. We could say now more than ever that humanity as a species is being called to evolve to superhumanity. With access or with required access to knowledge and power, Chit and Shakti, that include mind but are above and beyond the mind. Chit and Shakti that include the mind and everything below, but are above and beyond the mind. There seems to be the need for access to domains that we may not have yet charted out, at least at an average level. A few people have done it since time immemorial. But for a superhuman operating system to take shape, there needs to be some kind of game of numbers. Not just an individual realization or an individual achievement. Fortunately for us, Sri Aurobindo and the Mother have created the most comprehensive, integrated, and logically consistent philosophical system from a poise and station of superhuman consciousness, and have thus laid out the path for us through their own lifelong sadhana of an unimaginable scale and difficulty. Of an unimaginable scale and difficulty. We just need to emulate. All we are asked to do is to emulate in our own way, through our own swabhava and swadharma, our own inner nature and our outer action. The rule, the system has been created. It has been let loose in the ideosphere. But it is for us to look up, look in, look up, absorb, assimilate, and effectuate. Someone had said, no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it in the first place, isn't it? So a superhuman operating system can only be created by a superhuman being, or by an aspiring superhuman being who invokes the grace to be able to consummate the superhuman effort. So shall we try to summarize in that same classification system we discussed earlier, what a superhuman philosophical system could look like? Given the restrictions of time at a very basic and introductory level? Well, the answer has been given to us by them. Metaphysics. Our physical universe is only an outer material tail end of a much vaster reality which has a multi-planar hierarchical structure with the planes having their own characteristics, operating rules and functional validity, yet held in oneness and interpenetration. This is the summary of the superhuman metaphysics. We are giving a summary here. Each is a vast ocean of knowledge. Self-identity. Our outer ego is a pale and weak reflection of a larger inner self, one with the cosmos, and a transcendental self, which is the source of all manifestation, and yet beyond all manifestation. Our true and inmost identity is not the ego, but the soul or the psyche, the basis of the true psychology. Who are we? We are a soul, right now a transitional species evolving from animal nature to divine nature. That is the summary of the superhuman self-identity question. Epistemology. We have access to not just objective knowledge and subjective knowledge through separative indirect contact, but inner knowledge through direct contact at the level of being, and self-knowledge through identity. That is the superhuman epistemology. Ethics. We are here for acting from our highest identity and deepest knowledge. Highest identity and deepest knowledge. Our actions are then not bound by existing social laws and systems and codes, but always exceed and improve upon them as per the divine will, received and acted upon directly from there, from the source. Sarva dharma parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. That is superhuman ethics. Politics. In being and doing as described above, we are here to create a socio-political system wherein every individual, group, and nation have full freedom to rise to their highest potential and fulfill their singular purpose in the Gnostic destiny, wherein the individual is in total harmony with the collective fulfilling of the ideal of human unity. That is the summary of superhuman politics. Finally, the last but not the least, aesthetics. The pursuit of the beautiful, along with the true and the sacred. Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram takes us closer to unearthing the inherent divine qualities within ourselves and eventually to ascend to the divine nature, to the super nature. True art is neither for art's sake nor for the gratification of the small self, but true art expresses the soul of things, the divine element within. That is superhuman aesthetics. So, a very quick and summarized delineation or description of what could constitute the superhuman philosophical operating system, the science. Now, Sri Aurobindo and the mother, their contribution to humanity is much, much more than just the creation of an intellectual philosophical system. Apart from this superhuman science, which we just tried to encapsulate, they have also given us the superhuman technology for its effectuation. Apart from the superhuman science or the philosophical framework, the Gnostic philosophical framework of a superhuman operating system, they have given us in meticulous and painstaking detail the superhuman technology for its implementation and effectuation. The name of that superhuman technology is the integral yoga. They have not only written it out in excruciating detail in 35 plus 35 volumes of maybe 50,000 pages available on the internet for free. I mean, what a gift to the world. It is all there if we choose to look at it. But it is not just in that writing. They have infused the terrestrial atmosphere with the active and living power that makes it possible for us to rise and experience that truth with the capital T for ourselves, directly, intimately, whenever we wish. So if we are called to participate in the grand upgrade of the human operating system to the superhuman operating system, our task is to undertake that journey, that sacred journey, to raise our own consciousness, to understand the system properly by reading their work, to open and surrender to receive its inherent potent power, and to then possibly roll out that blueprint through a suitable planetary infrastructure that upholds and supports the superhuman operating system, covering every endeavor of human life. The grand vision of superhuman transformation is a total, complete fulfillment of life on earth. Nothing is missed, nothing is reneged, nothing essential is missed or turned away from. Every aspect of creation, including the most undivine, has a hidden element of the divine in it, which is waiting to be unearthed and put together in the superhuman Gnostic jigsaw of ideal unity. It is a fascinating project. That is our call. That is what we need to think about and respond to. And a large part of the work is already done by them 100 years ago. May we be up to that calling and that adventure. All can be done when the God touch is there. Om Namo Bhagavate. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilesh ji. Excellent, elegant presentation. Nilesh ji is a scholar and thoroughly studied many spiritual and supernatural matters arising from the perspective of Sri Aurobindo. One can easily understand his caliber by listening his speech. No doubt this sermon inspired us. So today's both topics are very different and rare. So we are very fortunate to listen this type of topics. Thank you very much, Nilesh ji, for having this elegant presentation. Due to technical issues, our chief guest is in Bhopal, Sri Jayant Sahasrabuddhe ji, General Secretary of Vigyan Bharati, and there is a big rain there in Bhopal. That's why, due to some issues, he is unable to join in this webinar. Even though we are going to conclude the webinar through saying thanks to